One. Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you by MegaPixx Media. Joining me today is Kelly Fedorowich, who is with Dark Side Racing in Calgary. Thanks, Kelly, for joining us today.
Hey, it's a pleasure. How are you?
I am great. So I see by your bio that you go by the moniker that you're Canada's only female top fuel pilot. Can you explain what that is, first of all?
Absolutely. So what I'm involved in is the drag racing community, specifically the Canadian drag racing community. And the top tier of drag racing is called Top Fuel, and that is what we race in. I'm part of a family-owned and operated Top Fuel racing team, and I happen to be the only Canadian woman who's ever climbed into the cockpit and actually driven one of these fire-eating monsters.
So these
fire-breathing.
Fire-breathing. So tell me, how fast do these things go?
So Zero, they are called one of the fastest accelerating vehicles on the planet. We go from 0 to 300 miles per hour in under 4 seconds. So we're talking 5 Gs. When I hit the throttle pedal, I experience an almost immediate 5 Gs of force. And then as I get to about the 8th mile, the clutch engages and I go, the G-force hits me again, and we accelerate even faster. The top speed, the really, really fast times are after that 8th mile. And as a driver in training, I haven't gone beyond that yet. So I'm going very incrementally in my driver experiences, and that's something that is still waiting on the horizon for me.
Tell me a little bit about your accomplishments that you've had in this sport so far.
Sure. Well, right now we are, in fact, the only Top Fuel team operating in Western. There are a couple of them in Canada. We do have some Top Fuel teams out in Eastern Canada. But what we are trying to do is we are trying to reinvigorate, to get Canadians excited about racing again. So every time we go out to the racetrack, we're giving an experience to the fans that is something that they might have to go across the border for. So when it comes to personal accomplishments, I kicked off the Canada 150 and 150. I kicked off my Fastest Woman in Canada campaign for the Canada 150 and 150, and I took home the top prize in my category. So that was something that I was incredibly proud of. The mentorship opportunities as a female racer in a male-dominated sport, I'm very proud to have a level of influence on the junior dragsters. Drag racing has an incredible program for kids to get them involved, and I have an opportunity to interact. 50% of the junior dragster program, the drivers are young gals who are interested in, right. And that's a key point to help continue growing the sport. We need more women in the sport.
So tell me how you got into this.
That getting into drag racing falls squarely on my husband's shoulders. So I knew nothing about drag racing. I grew up in Winnipeg. I met my husband. It happened to be my 20th birthday. So I'm going to be 55 this year. We've been together for a whole long time. And it was David. David is 11 years older than me. And when we met, he was very well immersed in his drag racing career. He introduced me to the sport, and I absolutely fell passionately in love with everything involved. It's such a technical sport. It's family oriented, and it sets a new challenge for participants. Every time you get out there, you're struggling and straining, and I mean the sport has a way of humbling people when you're involved, but that if you have that passion to achieve greatness, that just hungers you. It feeds that hunger to try and accomplish again and again.
So I'm curious, when you're in sitting down, what do you call, first of all, what do you call that area when you're sitting down in the drag racing vehicle?
In my cockpit.
It's a
I'm in the
cockpit?
in the cockpit.
It is called a cockpit. Okay, super. So what's it like when sitting in there when you're hitting
Yeah.
those high speeds?
It's really a surreal experience. The first couple of times I got into the cockpit, it's almost an out of body experience that you have. You have to really pay attention to the fight or flight, because your mind is overwhelmed with the sensation. So getting into it, when I'm at the starting line, the first time I was getting ready to do my first hit is what we call it, when you hit that throttle and you're ready to go into your hyper speed. Staying calm when everything around you have 10,000 horsepower, a motor that's just making a huge amount of noise behind your head. When I hit that throttle for the first time, how I explained it was the voice inside of my head was screaming louder than that 10,000 horsepower motor behind it. What in the heck have you gotten us into, is what my brain was asking me, because there's just really, it's so difficult to explain the sensations. Your brain does have the ability to catch up, though. You keep doing it more and more, and your brain has the ability. So thankfully, I've advanced beyond the fight or flight, and I'm now able to stay present when I'm doing my runs.
Let me ask you a little bit about Dark Side Racing. What is it and what do you guys do?
So yeah, Dark Side Racing, family owned and operated racing team. So when we raced during the 1990s, we became nomads. We had a semi-trailer with living accommodations. It was my husband David and myself and our son Nicholas, who was just a wee baby at the time. We went out and we did we had two sanctioning bodies, the NHRA and the IHRA, and we competed in the United States in those sanctioning bodies. So in 2012, when we decided we wanted to get back into drag racing, get back into top fuel racing, we had to analyze the situation as it was in Canada. We don't have a series, a top fuel series for us to compete in. So we had to think outside of the box. And what we did is we created corporate programs that would allow us to bring our corporate partners out to the track with us. So instead of having side-by-side competitions, we put on shows. We give track experiences. We give corporate hospitality events. So we'll bring a group of people out to our pit, and we will bring them up to the starting line. They get the full experience, but the only difference is we don't have that head-to-head competition yet. That is something that we're working very hard to develop, a new series that we're going to bring to Canadians so that we could compete within, we could bring Nitro back to Canada.
All right, super. Last question I have for you, Kelly, as a female in a male-dominated sport, what's your advice for women in general about, getting into, say, male-dominated industries? I'm thinking, recently I kind of asked the same question to Manjeet Minhas of Minhas Brewery, right? And she talked a little bit about that, but I'm curious about your advice to women in that area.
Just go out and do it. If you find something that you could do for a living, whether it's your work or whether it's a hobby, and it brings you joy, we got to go out and we got to do it. More and more women are becoming more a focal point in what are had been historically considered male dominated. We just got to go out there. Motorsport is one of the only sports where women and men compete on equal footing. So if there are any women out there that are interested in getting involved in motorsport in any way, do it. You will not regret it. It's an incredible life experience, and it'll give you the power within to reach beyond what you think you can do.
All right, super. Thanks a lot, Kelly, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
That was Kelly Fedorowich, who is with Dark Side Racing. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you by MegaPixx Media. Thanks for joining us.